What's happening, Forum? Anyone who knows me knows I love Chinese animation. And I'm not talking about anime like I'm some early 2010s self-hating 4chaner. I'm talking real, in the heart of Guangdong, homemade donghua. Don't talk to me if you haven't seen Unite to Blast. I shocked the people at Alpha's Toy Fair booth with the simple fact that I knew what Balala Xiaomogen is. Did I just say Alpha? That's right, Bladers. We're finally talking about Infinity NATO today. But probably not in the way you'd expect. Some of you might be asking right now, what the heck is Infinity NATO? Or Infinity NATO. There's two common pronunciations. I've been told NATO is the official one when I spoke to Alpha directly, but I'm probably going to use both interchangeably because I'm used to saying NATO. Anyway, in simplest terms, it's a Chinese Beyblade-like. I personally don't really like using the term ripoff, but if you've looked into Alpha Group's history at all, and you see how much the company is built on the framework of copying other people's homework, well, there probably was some inspiration there. That's not to say they haven't earned their own accolades. Infinity NATO has been pretty successful internationally. It's available through much of Asia, Europe, Latin America, and while it is available stateside, it is toy only, being distributed via Amazon, is what I would say if it weren't for the fact that shortly before I began production on this video, Infinity NATO 6 became available on Tubi English dubbed. I only watched about an episode or two of this, and it's fine. I don't really have much to say on it right now since I'm so early in, but I definitely would recommend checking it out if you're interested. This is not the Infinity NATO I am most interested in, though. I remember at some point in time seeing this individual and being very intrigued by the character design. I was surprised to find out that there is an English Infinity NATO wiki. I skimmed Temperance's page, only to find out that their gender is unknown. The page specifically states that his gender was changed in between seasons 1 and 3, for unknown reasons. Congrats on the transition, buddy! There was a comment saying that Alpha isn't even sure what exactly Temperance's gender is. I remember seeing somebody else say at some point in time, I could not pull up this comment again, so source trust me, somebody claimed that Alpha straight up forgot their gender. This was barely the tip of the iceberg. I soon learned Infinity NATO is far more queer than I ever would have expected. I would like to introduce you to the most beloved and slightly controversial character of the franchise, Pandora. For a bit more background, what even is the story here? The show is largely untranslated into English, but there is a Reddit thread that I found that gave some summaries. They do also mention that full dubs do exist for these seasons, but there are only a handful of episodes online. It's not a why video until I bring up a lost English dub. Infinity NATO takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, after the 22 war gods decide humanity has had it good for too long, and needs to be eradicated because they've gone too far. And obviously they gotta do this through spinning tops. Season 2 scales things back a bit, now with the 7 hunter gods going against our NATO group. One of the central characters is Pandora, who was born thousands of years ago and sent into a deep slumber, destined to awake when it was time to end all humanity and reset the world anew. And Pandora is male. This fact is shockingly debated on often. Chinese isn't gendered exactly the same way English is, but the show goes out of its way to tell you Pandora is a man on several occasions, as seen in this video by Earthborn Peranian. This may be confusing depending on where in the world you're from, and if you've seen Infinity NATO dubbed in your language also, because several dubs did choose to change Pandora's gender to female. But why? Sure, Pandora's very feminine appearance probably played into this, as well as Pandora in mythology originally being female. But there's another key detail I have yet to mention. He is very, very close with the show's main protagonist, Ye-fan, or Jin. This is the center of the show's biggest rumor. Supposedly, Pandora's gender was changed last minute from female to male. The reasoning being that they did not want to have romantic elements in the show. It's believed that they could have potentially gotten in trouble with censors or whatever for, having romantic themes in a show aimed at children. And I could kind of see it, because Alpha has had to bend to the whims of bizarre Chinese censors before. One of their other shows I've seen, Shining Star, ended up getting cancelled from television because it was deemed to be promoting hair dye. And if you look at their more recent shows, all of their characters have natural hair colors now, and I don't think that's a coincidence. When I think about this for more than 5 seconds, though, it still doesn't really add up, because they've had romantic implications in their other shows before, and I just don't really see why it would be an issue. Do we have a way to know for sure if this is the case, though? Why, yes, we actually do. A lot of the show's writing and design work were actually outsourced to Japan, and fans have found these people in order to ask them directly. Nanase Miku, the character designer, has confirmed that Pandora was always meant to be male, at least according to the notes that came across their desk. Now, what is the fandom's perception of Pandora? A lot of the social media posts I've seen about the series mention him in some capacity. I often lurk places like Weibo and Xiaohongshu.
But the zookeeper said, quote, "These hoes don't want a solution, they just want someone to talk to." Xiaohongshu!
Pandora is the only character to have their own dedicated super top category on Weibo. There are videos about Pandora on Bilibili with millions of views. What kind of testimonials do we have about Pandora? Well, we can find out. Roll the clip.
Although I can only accept falling in love with a person of the opposite sex, whether Ye-fang and Pandora are lesbians or straight people, the main thing is that they are together.
I also thought it was a girl, but later my brother told me it was a boy, and then I opened the door to a new world.
This kind of relationship of mutual support, moving forward together, and growing together is true love. True love is not gender specific. They can be said to be soulmates.
Reply across time and space. I smell gay love.
At first, I thought Pandora was a boyish girl, but now that I know he is a boy, I think he is so handsome.
It's the same as Gundam setting. Gay friends come first, machine gyro second, girlfriend last. Yay!
I know it's a boy, but I don't think boys and boys can't be together. Wry smile.
Gender doesn't matter anymore, guys. I'm going to die.
Is this a gyro drama or a romance drama? I initially thought Pandora was a girl and always shipped him with Ye-fan. Later, when I saw the finale and realized he was a boy, my young self didn't understand what yaoi was. But it didn't stop me from taking just 0.1 seconds to grasp it and continue shipping them.
In the age when I didn't know what male and same meant, I just hoped they would always be together.
1 year later, or 4.5 billion years later, I rewatched the second part specifically to see Pandora. When I saw the ending, I thought Ye-fan would hate Pandora because he wanted to destroy the Earth. You two are both very good children. I've always thought that Pandora was a girl, and I like him very much. Now I like him even more. Han Pan, whether you are a boy or girl, your mother will always love you.
Hurricane Soul Pandora has always been a boy.
It only took me 0.01 seconds to accept this setting and fall madly in love with it while watching. And I get so happy every time he appears.
Did I turn out to be gay back then?
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
Even while not being able to understand much, there is obvious chemistry going on here. The entire final battle sequence is breathtaking. Both of them having to grapple with the fact that they may never see each other again when the world resets. And that freaking hand animation? What were they putting in the water? It's rare I've ever seen this much consensus on a ship. The only real arguments I see are from people still confused about Pandora's gender. Nobody trying to say that they aren't in love. This begs the age-old question. Can something be representation if they never really intended it to be? My answer is normally yes. Intended or not, enough people see it, and enough people potentially see themselves in it. And you may even be able to say that it wasn't even entirely unintended, because I found the smoking gun. A 2014 conversation between Nanase Miku and the show's writer Hosono Yuji.
I sent a message to the original writer and screenwriter of a work I was involved in saying, I watched the final episode. It was a gay ending that was almost Yuri-like, with the intention of it being a compliment, but I think I might have made him angry. I'm trembling.
I'm not angry. I was honestly impressed that such footage could be made over there. I've been watching it over and over again. I was a bit worried about how the Chongqing Animation Company would turn that conceptual script into a storyboard and turn it into a film, but I personally think it was a very good film. I really liked the subtle expressions and hair movements of Jin and Pandora, and the detailed acting of their fingertips.
I see. If the storyboard had been written in Japan, it might have turned out differently. I took screenshots of the Yuri-like scenes and had fun with them.
Well, I think it's also thanks to Nanase's androgynous design of Pandora. I think it's an ideal Yuri scene. I think I was able to sum it up in the line, I wish the world was just this room.
Even the show's staff agrees that there's something up with the two of them. I would call it arguably canon. You may still argue that it's still not clear if this was their intention during the original writing phase, but this is still way closer to confirmation than I ever expected to find. And based on what I've seen, Pandora and Jin's relationship is the central force to Season 2's story. It's not really surprising that they are also staff favorites, but I never expected them to be this blunt when talking about them. Getting away with doing something like this in 2014 on a kid's show? Like, we already know about China's high censorship, but this isn't even like a China issue. In the point that this aired at in 2014, Steven Universe hadn't even introduced Ruby and Sapphire yet. I guess it's easier to get away with talking about them like this when you're doing it in your native language on a website that the Chinese fans probably weren't checking super closely at the time. Like, obviously they seem to be checking more now, but I haven't seen anybody else discussing this specific exchange. You could also call it something like retroactively canon. The best example of this I can think of is Claudine from Monster High. The creator said he liked the idea of Claudine being a lesbian. And this would later be retroactively canonized through subsequent reboots and also Pride Month merch from Mattel. I don't really see Alpha themselves doing anything like this, though. They don't even seem to be including Pandora in recent anniversary merch, which I'm gonna be honest, low-key feels suspicious. So after that, you may be wondering, how can you watch this show? While untranslated, the entire series is up on YouTube officially. I'd suggest watching the newest series as well. Perhaps if they see increased interest, they might end up dumping the earlier seasons on Tubi since those are supposedly already dubbed. To all Bladers, Bay fans, and NATOists alike, happy Pride Month.